All right. If you would extend the hand you intend to use today.
Should I alternate from... Should I alternate from the one I used yesterday, or...
I mean, I always use the same hand
That's what I thought.
because I really don't care. I've got scars all over both my hands, so it's really been they're not too fussed about it. You might feel a little differently.
No, we'll just use the same one.
Wonderful. My name is Ascalon Erenvar, Pilgrim of the Order Artifacts. Having undergone the rite at the vein, it is my duty and privilege to conduct this ceremony. I conduct it on the behalf of the one before me who identifies herself as
Phoenix. Phoenix.
Let me know whenever you are ready.
I'm ready.
Yesterday we covered a great deal of a few things, touching on a few points. But we'll start on a slightly different note. One of the main things when making a weapon is how you handle stress in battle. Apologies, that is sort of the question. How do
Oh,
you handle stress in battle?
well, I don't tend to really feel stress in the sort of typical description of it. I I move without really thinking about it. I just do what needs to be done and worry about the rest afterwards.
So do you feel stressed at all, say, should a comrade fall next to you?
No stress. It's simply they've fallen. It's time to get them up and get them out of here. There's no hesitation or questioning or worrying about it. It just is.
And yesterday you mentioned you like bladed weapon.
Yes.
Do you prefer to wield them with one hand or two hands?
One. Generally one, but I know that I have been using one with two hands lately. The katana that I use it's elegant.
Do you want a weapon that feels natural or ready to use, or one that makes you rise to the challenge to master it?
I want to rise in all things. So if a weapon means that I need to rise to that as well, then I will.
Are you a spiritual or religious person?
No, no, I'm not.
Yesterday you stated that you prefer the feeling of a physical presence because you do not like to feel alone. Do you remember this?
I do.
When referring to the presence of another, do you prefer them to feel neutral, like a parent, or as a friend?
I don't know what a parent feels like, so if I can put this in my own words. I prefer the feeling of someone who I can respect, who respects me in turn. I like the presence of someone who I can feel comfortable expressing myself with, even if it's embarrassing or difficult.
What would you define as respect in your eyes?
To me, somebody that I respect is someone who I am seek to emulate in part. But obviously, not everyone that I respect I want to be like entirely, but there's something about them that I admire, and I would like to think that maybe there's something about me that others might admire and wish to learn from.
Yesterday you mentioned, and perhaps this is poor paraphrasing on my half, that violence, if it is in the act of defending yourself, is neither good nor evil. Do you believe that to be a correct interpretation of your word?
Yes.
How would you define the concept of good and evil in your own terms?
Oh, that's a heavy one. I define good as someone who uses what they are given or what they have or who they are to the benefit of other people, who has the thoughts of others ahead of themselves, who does things because they are right. Do you wanna? Evil would therefore sort of be the antithesis of that. Somebody who, uses what they have to harm people or other things, harm the world around them, even who thinks of only themselves, who hurts for fun.
In case it isn't obvious, today is a lot of expanding on our conversation of yesterday.
Mhm.
Helps me get a better idea of some of the things you said, give me a better idea of what you value and what is important to you. As you said, that you're different, you feel different from the rest of us because you're one of the few people who expresses their emotions openly.
Yes.
Do you feel like those around you who suppress their expressing emotions outwardly are hindered by this choice?
Yes and no. It makes me a little bit sad because I feel like, and my interpretation could be entirely correct. That is just sort of how I feel. But I feel like if that is the case and people do hold back their emotions openly, I'm not saying that they don't have any. I'm just saying that they choose to keep them inside or with a smaller circle. Um, I feel like maybe maybe they consider it a weakness, which I don't. So I feel a little sad about that. I don't want people to think that it's a weakness to express yourself. But at the same time, if that is what they think and that is their strength, I want someone to be strong over. Well, I need to think to phrase this. I would prefer that someone perceive themselves to have the strength that they need rather than feel like they have to emote themselves.
When you hear the word of military, what do you think of?
I think of straight rows of soldiers standing at attention and all looking up to a leader and following their orders. And all focused on a very similar ideal or goal or purpose.
Have you been present during any of the instances of which Eris has been forced to grieve openly?
Uh, Actually, once.
How did witnessing such an event make you feel?
I felt empathy for her. I don't know much of the situation because it's not really talked about, but for someone to feel that raw about something, I can't even imagine it. But it must be powerful to her to even, because typically she, like everyone else, feels more reserved. So for her to express it in those times has got to be because the pain is so deep.
When you think about the enemy and the tales that you've likely heard about what they've done to our people, how does that make you feel?
I I put myself in the shoes of those they've hurt. And try to imagine what they went through before. Because I want to understand why. Because there has to be another side to the story. What happened that made these people hate us so much? And the things that they do are horrific, and I want it to stop. And if we have to do violence to do that, then I might have gotten my voice lost in the wind. If we have to do violence to make it stop, then so be it, but I can't help but wonder if there's another way.
Your answers yesterday focused a lot on the concept of protection, defending oneself. When you perceive the concept of violence and or aggression attacking, what do you think about that idea? the offensive rather than the defensive.
I don't really feel prone to feeling the need to attack anyone. Now, I say this as a little bit of a hypocrite because, for instance, when we were clearing out the tower yesterday, I did enjoy that. But at the same time, we were helping. We were doing something that I perceive as good for somebody else. But openly, just if I were told to, I don't know if I could just attack somebody else for no reason. I would want an explanation. That said, I don't think anybody here would ever make us attack somebody who is unarmed or for no reason. But doing it just to do it is not my way.
Do you feel repulsed or uh, any negative feelings towards those who are more inclined to violence first? Questions later.
No, because just like everything else, there's other sides. They're that way for a reason. Maybe they were hurt. Maybe they feel like they're the good people. Nothing is black and white. So I can't really revile them for being aggressive. Now, if it were somebody who was aggressive towards people who didn't deserve it or for terrible reasons, that would be different.
How would you determine if someone was worth it? Or didn't deserve it, I should say.
Didn't deserve being hurt?
Mm-hmm.
No. Unfortunately, there's no good, easy way to answer that because there's so many shades. It's hard to say, but
Alright, allow me to give you an example. Before the mountain clans joined Valador, we existed on a series of 4 peaks, each controlled by a respective clan. Mine worshipped the great mammoth. If a member from the bear clan came over and decided to leave an offering, such as a bear claw, at the mammoth altar, this is a grave offense. Punishment is the loss of a hand. Is that just, or is that wrong?
I'm not a giant. I can't speak for giants on what is right or wrong, but I would need to know if this person left this as an insult, why it's an insult maybe. I would my instinct would be to find that to be harsh for sure. And I probably would disagree because it's They didn't harm anybody. They didn't steal anything. They didn't come to deface your homes. They thumbed their nose at you, essentially. Excuse me.
All right. You had mentioned that you often get caught up in the idea of what is and isn't fair. Would you be willing to elaborate on that?
Oh. I can give you an example. And I'll preface this with the understanding that I was probably being petulant and unreasonable, maybe. But the example that I was thinking of was that I thought that I was doing a good thing by checking in on the patients in the clinic because they've been here for several days, and I just wanted to see if they were all right. And I was asked to no longer help with injuries unless directly asked. Basically, I've been told that I'm no longer allowed in the infirmary for any reason unless it is to be treated or if I'm asked to help. And I perceived this as unfair. Because I didn't understand why simply trying to be kind to people who are hurt would be a bad thing. But it was explained that I had failed to follow etiquette, or hierarchy, rather, is the word I was looking for, by not asking for permission first. But I am trying to move past and listen to the explanations rather than just simply decrying the world as unfair.
Do you feel that your lack of memories has had a significant impact on your relationship with those of us here on the expedition?
That is hard to say. I have struggled with some people on the expedition, but I never attributed it to my memory loss. Simply personality clashes. It was something that I had been steadily improving since we first landed. And then fell apart a few days ago, but I don't think it's due to, well, if my memories meant that I don't know if who I was before is very different to who I am now. So in a way, perhaps before I had a different outlook on things and perhaps was not the same, and if that's the case, then perhaps, but basically, no, I don't think so.
Alright, I have a question sort of attached to that one. And again, this may sound like an attack, but I do not intend it to be so.
God damn it.
Do you believe that the losses of your memories has led to a naivety to the horrors the rest of us have experienced, which may be what is causing the rift between what you perceive as those who hide their emotions and yourself?
I mean, that's absolutely a possibility. I wouldn't see that as anything negative. It's a good question. And that's an absolute possibility. As I said, it's very possible that I was completely different before this, and now I have developed free of the experiences before that, so I don't see things the same way anymore.
I would like to say this because I know it is a pain that you feel. I can promise you that that rift does exist. If you stare into the eyes of most of us, you can see the shadow there from what we experienced before. You talk to any of us about what we experienced during the war, there is a great weight. There is a lot of pain and agony. And your lack of memories is both a blessing and a curse, because you do not remember all of that pain.
Yeah,
but you have the curse of being surrounded by everyone who does. So what you may see as shutting their emotions in is often a mechanism to not drown in despair. I can promise you I've had fairly deep conversations with most. But your perspective differs from the rest of us very heavily. Most of us remember the walls of corpses, the futility of it all feeling. But fighting on against insurmountable odds in the hope that we would still succeed. I can promise you there is not a single person here who did not lose someone.
Can I ask you a question?
You mumbling?
Can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
You asked me yesterday if I would ever trade my memories then or my memories now. And I said no, I didn't want to remember. Did you think that selfish?
Truthfully, I don't have an opinion on it. There is both good and bad in either way. In one hand, I see that it is a boon to the expedition for a different perspective. One not troubled by such grief. But on the other side, sometimes I feel like perhaps your perspective is not on the right prize. With well intentions, and I can see where your stance is. The rest of us are. I don't want to say more grounded because it makes it sound as if I'm insulting you.
No, you're not. You're not.
We're more grounded in the very grim truth and the grim. Let me put it this way, I suppose. There's a series of your favorite book. It's a gripping tale of heroes and knights and things. Where the rest of us started in chapter 1, you've suddenly picked up on the third book. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does make sense.
There's a lot more weight to our souls and our minds through every day that we walk. There's not a day that goes by that I do not think about those who I lost, especially when I'm here. I know Shireen and I talk about the seemingly countless animals that died, ones that she raised and tended to. Me helping her bury the corpses. Everyone here has that baggage behind them.
Except me. I want to talk to you more about that after all this.
If I'm being honest, I believe for the most part we are done for the day. It is most of the questions I needed answered, at least for today.
Right.
I hope you see now that most of these are catered to the conversation and not just some generic series of questions thought up by some elderly man in a cave.
No, I understand.
So if you'd like to continue the conversation, we can.
All right. Now, I say this with the understanding that the longer we stay here, the more horrible things we face that I know we're going to face. Even I will, not be the same person that I was when we landed here. But I also don't want to keep offending everyone else with, as you said, my own naivete.
This is a hard thing to sort of discuss because if I've not shown before, it should be fairly apparent. I'm more of a blunt person. I sort of just kind of cut through all the fluff.
I don't need to be. I don't need a soft touch.
Well, I just feel like you get watery eye every day, and I feel like you need a break from it at some point.
You can't help that. And I'm just one of those people who